years old. Died yesterday, March 25th, 2022. The Foo Fighters released a following statement. The Foo Fighters family is devastated by the tragic and ultimate untimely loss of our beloved Taylor Hawkins. His musical spirit and infectious laughter will live on with all of us forever. Our hearts go out to his wife, children, and family, and we ask that their privacy be treated with the utmost respect in this unimaginable, difficult time. No cause of death has been given so far, but this is. I will. I had a live feed last night, and with the Rock History Music family, we call them, and my phone kept going off, and I just said, okay, for one night, I'm just going to ignore my phone, mistake, and just go to sleep. No matter what happens, and it kept going off, and to the point where I went and turned off, hi Alex, and turned off my phone. Mistake, but sometimes you get a lucky bounce, and sometimes you don't. And the big thing is people wanted me to report on this. Irene, very shocking. I can't believe it. They were on tour, the Foo Fighters, in South America. They were headlining the Festival Estario picnic in Bogota. And of course, once this happened, because it happened at the hotel, fans started, basically just like the John Lennon thing. Everyone outside the hotel, right? Just in disbelief, more than having a concert canceled, or you just go, what? Crazy. So he was found dead in his hotel room. They were scheduled to perform in Lollapalooza in Brazil, and they were starting to get ready to do their United States tour. He was a drummer for Sass Jordan way back when, a Canadian, and then another Canadian that you'll know even more, Alanis Morissette. And if you watch the latest Alanis Morissette, if you watch the latest documentary on Alanis Morissette, which by the way is very good, he's a big part of that. And when he left there in '97 to join the Foo Fighters, it was hard because they seemed very close. I'm not sure how close he was with Alanis. I mean, as far as their relationship, but they seemed incredibly close. Not going to speculate on that, just close. I'm very close to a lot of females, and it doesn't mean I was having that kind of relationship with them. Coldplay, they were performing in Monterey, and they dedicated the song Everglow to Hawkins. Chris Martin says he was a beautiful, beautiful man. Blink-182 drummer Travis Barker wrote, "You'd come to watch me play in dive bars and be like, 'Kid, you're a star.' And I thought you were crazy, but you gave me so much hope and determination." That's the kind of, you always talk about what happens when that person walks into the door. I mean, that's your legacy, beyond what you're good at, your trade. It's when that person walks through the door. And I always use this example. It's a bad example, but it's a good example at the same time. When Chris Brown walks through the door, you go, that's the guy who beat up Rihanna. A lot of the times you're going to go, because that's physical harm, right? You look at him and you think that. When Taylor would walk through the door, I didn't know him. But read the comments. Read what people are saying about him as a human being. When he walked through the door, people were happy to see him. He's always had a smile on his face. He was always very funny. And the comments are all reiterating the fact that he was such a good guy. And I'll read the comments, by the way, in a second. And thank you very much for everyone jumping on today. I mean, I know it's a sad thing, but please like our video. Let's see what else we have here. And Dave Grohl, let's remember he lost another bandmate, of course, in '94 with Kurt Cobain. That was a huge loss. And he called Taylor his best friend on numerous occasions. They'd switch vocals on stage many times. He played with that veracity of just like he went right in when he played. You ever notice? Reckless abandon, a lot of people mention, but he was that kind of drummer. I'm a drummer. My son's a drummer. One of the first covers my son ever did was a Foo Fighters song. And he came up to me and said, "Man, this guy's good. This guy is an amazing drummer." Because he kept going, this is hard stuff. But I knew that already. Taylor was born in Texas. He was raised in California. just known as a surfer dude. He looks like a surfer dude. He really, really did. But you talk about, when Neil Peart died, when John Lennon died, you talk about that unbelievable, I can't believe it around the death. There's been quite a few. Glenn Frey, David Bowie, George Michael. When you get these, and these people are bigger names than Taylor, but the disbelief factor in this is just insane of people going, what? He had problems with and I'll get demonetized for even saying the word. He had problems with substances before, went into a coma a few years ago, and then said that was a wake-up call for him. August 2001. A coma for 2 weeks. By the way, he's survived by his wife, Allison, and their 3 children. Everyone's speculating on what it could have been. We don't know. And it could have been a whole bunch of things. You don't know why this kind of thing happens, unless you're the person. And I'm not saying it's depression, but the best example of this is looking at depression, for instance. I look at that this way. People say, oh, died suddenly, which it's a code in broadcasting. I've been a broadcaster for 39 years of going, what's that mean? Well, that could mean a lot of things. It could mean they ended their life. It could mean, but a lot of the times sometimes they use it for a heart attack, sudden things. But this is such a shock for so many people with a band that had a likability. And remember, that's a word that comes up an awful lot with Dave Grohl and Taylor. He was heavily influenced by drummers like Stuart Copeland, who we got to know, and Roger Taylor of Queen. He was into music, playing guitar, and then he saw them. And how it is, you see someone, the Beatles story is the ultimate example of that, changing the trajectory of your life. You want to play an instrument, then you see that guy on TV, and you go, no, that speaks to me. I want to do that. So let's get to your comments. Lots of comments today. Alex, nice to see you on here. So sad. Irene Brophy, she says, shocking. Good morning. Good morning, Irene. Waking up to this, huh? Yeah, I was thinking to myself to stay up late last night, and I decided I was just tired. It was a long day yesterday. Charles S., crazy stuff. Yeah, well said. Dwayne, greetings from Edmonton, Alberta. Craig says, good morning, a blood poet vids. Sad news for music. It is, it really is sad news for music when you're considering, I'm not one of those that says new music sucks. I don't necessarily think it does. I think a lot of it does, but there's really great new music out there. But when you talk about rock bands that are the biggest rock bands in the world right now that are relatively new, even though Dave goes back, all these musicians go back, of course, doesn't mean you knew them back then. Dave Grohl, we all did. Dwayne says, I heard about the death of Taylor Hawkins. Very sad. Alex, Taylor Hawkins was 1 in a million drummer. It really was. The fact that he drummed with such veracity, he was just in there from the first moment, which really influenced my son, who's quite an accomplished drummer now at 18 years old. But the first drumming, it was Rope, the first drumming video he did. KW Kid, you've not been on here before. Nice to have you. Good morning. This is sad to hear. I was a big fan. Elias, hello. Hello, thanks for joining us. I don't think you've been here before. JJD Video. This was a big year for the Foo Fighters. Yep, new movie, new album, new tour. This is tragic. Well said. Well said. Thank you. Dwayne, Texas spawned so many great musicians. Taylor Hawkins is one of them. Yeah, he left and went to California, became a surfer dude. The Leads. What did he pass away from? We don't know yet. And we're not going to speculate. We don't know. It could be a lot of things. He's 50 years old. That's fairly young. And I remember 12 years ago when I was 50, I'm 62 now. And I remember feeling around. Any of you who are over 50, you're looking around and say, oh, 50, that's the big one. That's a big one. And you don't really feel much different than you were at 49 or 48. But to some people, that's not the case because you never know what's going to happen. I know what everyone thinks happened. Doesn't mean it did till toxicology comes back. And I understand that. It's not that we don't want to mention that. but we don't know that. Let's just not. Gregory says, unreal, just woke up to this. 2 of the top 5 drummers in just over 2 years. Yeah, well said. JJD Video. His solo stuff outside the Foo Fighter was pretty good. He was a good singer. It really was. The leads. What did he die from? No one knows right now. It's too early to tell. And there's no way we're going to find out. The soonest would be 2 weeks. Everyone wants to know. You always watch these murder mystery shows, right? You come up to the husband, and you can always tell when the husband did it. I'm just using an example. They won't say, what happened? Everyone says, what happened? What's your reaction? It's my reaction. I want, what? First of all, you're trying to get over the shock. No one wants a hero to die. No one wants someone who's worked so hard to die. But sometimes they say the hardest thing for someone to get is everything their dreams wanted, their dreams fulfilled. Sometimes that's hard on someone. It does cause that reckless abandon on stage, sure, but it also does in a personal life. Be careful to get your dreams fulfilled. But, excuse me, sorry, I just woke up. But we don't know. But the thing is, like I said, you watch a true crime thing. The husband will always say, what? What happened? Right? Unless he did it. And then he knows what happened. He doesn't realize he's being so transparent. But our reaction today, and that's why everyone's asking, how could it be? This is not fair. Brian Boro says, my Generation X. So Alex Knight, he was a good guy. And he loved music so much. Alex, really well said, because everyone's saying the same thing. People are coming out and going more than, well, maybe just as much as talking about his drumming prowess, that the fact that he was just a good guy. Again, like I said, someone walks into the room, what's your first impression of them? If they have a reputation, someone else's business. It's not your business. Someone else will decide who you are. Talk about Taylor's reputation, other people's interpretations of him. And that says something, right? If you really want to get down to it, if you want to find out who you are, you try to figure that out based on people's reactions, right? Sorry, I'm a big psychology junkie. And people generally, I would find myself smiling. Don't you find when there's certain people on TV, you either like them or you don't like them? You don't know them. Most of us here, we don't know Taylor. We never, you saw him in concerts. Some of you met him, I'm sure. But what's that guttural thing you feel about someone? I don't want to dive too deep into this, but his likability factor was incredibly high, more than what he did on stage. People just liked him. How many times this morning did I hear from people, and especially last night too when it happened, because the shock factor was still there, and it's here as you wake up and find this out, that this is someone who made a difference from who they were as a human being as well, right? See him interviewed. It was like him and Dave back and forth. A lot of times when they were doing interviews with the band, it was either Dave by himself or Dave and Taylor. And who were the 2 people you were watching up there? No, the other guys were great. But those 2 guys were stars, right? Dwayne says, I like drumming and percussion too. Taylor is amazing. Nightfly Fagan. Well, I know who you like. This sucks. It really does. Yeah, it's a hard thing. Snowman. I'm so sorry for the loss of this man. Dwayne says, we can't change what happened. We can only remember Taylor for contributions and great music. Well said. DI Freighter Watcher. I know I will get this removed, but we can't say, but we all know. Oh, come on. Really? Don't say that. Why would you say that? Man, something's seriously wrong with someone when they blame it on the vaccine. Jeez. Go back to your cave. Okayes Guitar 66. Holy cow, so sad. Brian Burrow, Taylor Hawkins drumming masterclass video is good. BBC Radio 6 Music YouTube channel. Thank you. Okay, I'm not gonna comment on anybody talking about the vaccine, okay? Because this is ridiculous and pathetic, really. Uh, Zoe Foster. He looked and seemed so young. Really, I was surprised he was 50, but then you think about it, he's one of those guys that seemed very youthful, right? He had a youthful, he's really good looking guy. Alan, hello from Winnipeg. Hey, Alan. Tarkus, good morning. John Paley. Oh my God, just please stop talking about that. Paul says, just remember his passion induction, rush in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Irene, I agree. I hate to assume when people assume right off the bat, you can't. I was thinking of naming this video Taylor Hawkins dead, what happened? And I'm going, why would I say that? No one knows what happens. I'm not going to give any, the video would be clickbait. We don't know. The sad thing is we don't know. Please, folks, I understand you're just doing a human nature thing, which is like I said, you're going, what? First of all, you go into shock, say, what? And then you go into, everyone says, what happened? You see any police video on TV and someone says so-and-so has passed. The first thing someone says is, what happened? Everyone wants to know. It's human nature. I understand that, but we don't know. Celeste, we don't know the cause of death. Selman B. Early on, I thought, what's so cool about him? If he had a Captain Beyond sticker on his bass drum. Okay, I don't know what that means. B. Pagan 77. Great person, a gifted drummer. Yeah, we all have the same crap in our past, present. Well said. We don't know what's going on with him. Personally, you never know what's going on with a person just because someone's smiling. And either way, if something's going, everyone's got something. That's why they say, be careful when you comment on other people because you don't know what they're going through. Last night, for anyone who was here last night, I was talking about, I started watching videos of YouTubers hating other people. And I'm going, you don't know what that person's going through. Of course, if they ripped off people, and there's a lot of YouTubers that have multi-level marketing stuff going on, and they're just grabbing money left, right, and center. But ultimately, you don't know what's going on with someone. Okay. Chris says, huge fan of the Foos. And this is hard to hear. Art matters. This is shocking news. My deepest sympathy to his family and friends. 3 kids. The level of ignorance is insane. I understand, Tarkus. Renoir. Heartbroken by this Taylor. True gent. He really was. James Morrow. No cause of death, yes. Yet. Some insensitive people are speculating without any knowledge. Yeah, you can't speculate now. I mean, imagine this. Family gets together. Family's together in this place. You're together. You've got all the family. You're there to mourn someone. It's not even the wake yet. People are getting together. They're getting food, and you're in a room. And everyone in that room is speculating if someone dies. So it's human nature. I understand that. But on a live feed, we can't say it was the problem he had before. I'm got to be careful because I can't even mention a substance on YouTube anymore. You can't. Brian says it could be anything. Well said, Brian. Chris, we were just talking last night on your stream, John, about bands we checked out. Foo Fighters were mentioned. So sad. Thank you, Chris. Celeste, they were to play Lollapalooza in Brazil. Yeah, we mentioned that. Next Sunday. Ronnie, CBX. Some of these usernames are so cool. Great musician. God bless your soul. Brazil, love your sound. Yeah, thank you. I don't know how to say that username. Wasn't there a paramedic report thinking he had an altitude sickness? I don't know. Never read that. Before I go on, I'll read like 10 different stories. And even the left of center, right of center, I'm not being political, but just the sort of different types of magazines just to see what they say. You don't want to come on here unprepared, but I know quite a bit about the band, so. Sandra Lynn says, I have tickets to see Foo Fighters here in Maine later this year. I was absolutely gutted. Oh, thanks, Snowman. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate that. These musicians don't know how they affect us. It's the soundtrack of our life. Well said. And thank you for your super chat. I don't think at the end of interviews, and if I know a lot of you are new to the channel because you're coming on because of Taylor. Most of our channel, and I don't want to do an ad, but I just want to let you know, most of our channel is interviews with rock stars, classic rock stars, but even going into the 90s and 80s. And we do interviews all the time. Now and then, if it's someone from my generation who's made a big difference, now stay with me, I will say things like, thank you for making a difference in my life. I'll look at the camera and I'll say this to them. I just said that to Mike Reno of Loverboy because for whatever reason, our lives interchanged a lot and we knew some of the similar people. But I've only interviewed him twice. That was my second interview. And then he stopped in his tracks. Davy Johnstone of the Elton John Band did that too. I don't want to make this a story about me, but I'm talking about what you just said. Sometimes they forget. You go on autopilot. You're living your life. You're doing your job, and that's a job for them. They love it. Most of them do. And when I say that to them, to go to what you're saying, some of them will go, oh, thanks, man. Like almost in shock. And it's not unlike you coming up to them and saying, hey, thanks, I love your music. But when you come up to someone and tell a rocker, thank you, you've made a difference in my life. That's something. Okay. Yeah, we're getting those people on here. I don't know why, things have to turn into conspiracy theories when we talk about something like this. Oh, there's my agenda. Let me throw my agenda on here. It doesn't fit, but I'll throw it in anyway, It's also incredibly disrespectful. Douglas Johnson. So sad to hear. Sounds like he was a wonderful guy. Everyone goes through garbage in their life. Thank you, Douglas. Too sad some people are bringing up the vaccine thing. I know that's just borderline ridiculous. Brian Boro. Roger Taylor of Queen was the first drummer, his first drumming influence. Yeah, we mentioned that a while ago. DBC 105. I hope I'm reading that right. Good morning, John. Sad news. Yes. Donnie, yeah, he was found unresponsive in his hotel room. You're correct. Merle. In Taylor's own words, I'm not a rock star. I'm a musician, damn it. He truly was. I don't know. It's just to wake up, it's strange. We talk about I'll mention the pandemic for a second. My brother hasn't been here in probably 2 months, maybe more. More than 2 months. And my wife has an autoimmune disease, and my daughter has an autoimmune disease just by the fact that she has seizures and she's on seizure medication. And my wife has pernicious anemia. She's got a B12 problem. So we're being incredibly careful. But here I was, I mentioned this not because of the shot or anything like that. But my first thought was, oh man, I hope they're being safe because we can't have anything come into this house. And then I completely forgot about all of that when I found this out this morning. I went, what? It's just shocking. A lot of people will be bummed out today. And will they appear at the Grammys? So some people were asking. I hope they do as a tribute to him. You know who would be fitting to be on there? Either Roger Taylor or Stuart Copeland, if it was to happen, but you got to let people grieve, and everyone grieves in a different way, right? To them, it might be fitting for Dave and the boys to go on there and have Stuart Copeland or Roger Taylor drum. I think Stuart would be a better bet, and they were friends. He was friends with Stuart, who was a big influence on him. There's a video online with them just hanging out. It's really, really good. Okay. Let me get to some comments before we wrap it up. I have some company coming. Merle says, sad day, we'll miss him. St. Blazy Model World. Hi, John. Love your channel. Thank you. Huge prog rock fan. So am I. A twist of fate that your recent video about Alex Lifeson and his recent comments about stated that he was one of the greatest drummers. Okay. 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 Some people are saying things and I have no idea what you're talking about. That's okay. Matthew, so sad. He, he will be the best of the legend drummers of Rockstar Legends. Prayers to his family. Trenton, wow. Yeah, I know. I think that happens whenever we lose someone like that. I mean, when you dumb it down, when you look at an artist like that, here they are, they're larger than life, they're on stage. Drummers are a different group of people. I know I'm a drummer. It's not uncommon for a drummer to be the catcher in baseball or the outfielder. You either want to be part of it or you're not. The drummer is an integral part of any band, but there's a different mentality to a drummer. Not all drummers, but I remember talking to someone who was going to hire me in radio, and I ended up getting the job, then running the radio station. But the bottom line is, he said, "Oh yeah, what position do you play?" I said, "I'm a goalie." And he said, "My son's a goalie." And I said, "Is your son a catcher or a drummer?" He went, "Yeah, my son's a drummer." I said, "It's not uncommon for goalies to be drummers. But when you look at the position, literally, physically, the position in the back, there's something about drummers. They're wired a little differently." We've heard all the drumming jokes. After watching my son, after a month looking at me and said, when he was 8 years old or 7, he said, "Dad, can I have a real drumming teacher?" I went, "Okay, we have 145 people on here, and you're all probably thinking a very similar thing, which is, what the heck happened? And we don't know that, We're not going to speculate here. But, the feeling of losing someone in shock is always the same thing. I remember years ago when I won 10 grand in the lottery, I used to imagine what it felt like to win money in the lottery. 10 grand's not a lot, but it was a lot to me that time. I mention this because the way I thought I'd feel was exactly the way I felt when I looked down at my ticket and I thought 3 10,000s on the ticket. It's the same like that. Death is very similar in a very negative way. You feel it shocks you through your whole body. And it's been said many times, the human condition has problems processing death of someone that you admire so much, could have changed the trajectory of your life. That's a lot. That's a lot. And then you look at, he was such a good guy. The likability factor with Taylor was so high. We already went through, if anyone wants to see it, go to the beginning of the whole thing. No one knows what happened, just to be clear. No one knows. And everyone's speculating, but like I said, it's human nature. You get everyone in a room, the family and friends of someone who just died. It's not the wake, like I said a while ago. Everyone in that room is speculating on what happened. So I understand that. No one says, just he was such a good guy. Everyone's going, what happened? Because it's a crime when someone you care about passes away. The what happened has to come up. So I understand that. Okay, back to comments. Oh, St. Blazy Model World. We need to recognize these guys while they are still here. Thank you. One of the best comments today. And it's overstating the obvious, but some of the best comments are overstating the obvious about the fact that, love them while they're here. Go see them, support them, write them, meet them. Unfortunately, these days to meet people, you have to pay for it, but I don't mind. Chris, Taylor was an excellent drummer. He understood his craft and his part of playing. A drummer with one of the biggest bands ever. It's amazing Dave Grohl was in 2 of the biggest bands of all time, when you think about it. And the big loss for him, the fact that he lost Kurt Cobain a few years before, he formed the Foo Fighters. Dwayne says, I do admire the positive energy Taylor Hawkins showed. May you rest in peace. Thank you, Dwayne. Blood Poet Vids. Thanks for all you do, John. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's the weird thing, you're going, I wake up this morning and oh, poor little me. I have to go shave and wash my hair and put a shirt on. And oh, poor me. Poor guy's dead. The first thing you go into like, oh, It's just, the human condition. Someone wrote, Richard Wright, I think is his name. He's a Facebook friend of mine. I should actually look up his post. It's an interesting post that I saw, who was a drummer for Alanis Morissette. Let me look it up. Let me read this to you. And it's not a bad thing. He was replaced by, here it is. This is Richard. Wrote a very interesting thing. Richard Wright. So a little after 11:45 Central Time, I was coming off stage from an amazing gig tonight in, I'm not sure where that is. Our LD video director, Paul, informs us that Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins had died this evening, found alone in his hotel room. Oh no, not the dude who replaced me as Alanis Live drummer. There you go. So he has a history, right? Indirectly, directly. Not going to lie, I was mad and frustrated upon hearing the news. What? WTF? He had everything you could ask for. Let me expand this. It's amazing how we process things like this on our brains. After I got changed and jumped into my car to head home, I took a step back in my thoughts and processes. We should not be quick to judge. A lot is going to come out of the news in the next few weeks, and everyone is going to have their opinion and judgment of his human being, this son, this husband, this father. Honestly, who are we to judge? We don't know what demons he may have had or been fighting that day in and day out. If he was an addict, what drove him there? And what was he trying to escape from? He is not a cartoon character in 2D. He was a living, breathing soul. I get it. I've been out on the fence a few times in my life, even just recently. I can see how one can fall or succumb to the side easily. Still tough news to hear. We are about the same age. You feel for his family and friends. He was an amazing drummer. He played with the ferocity and reckless abandonment and controlled chaos. There is only one drummer I know who could play like this, Stuart Copeland. This is when I knew we had a kinship. We both idolized and were influenced by the one and only Police drummer. The more I found out about Taylor, the more I liked him as a person. We both loved the same music, loved his energy and passion, not only for drumming, but his knowledge and love for music. In the end, not saying he was, but depression and addiction can be real. Don't be quick to judge. Rest in peace, Taylor. And this is a beautiful piece from a gentleman who was replaced by Taylor in a band. You step back and you go, when people are judging and they have all these energies, and, we do what we can, but processing death is a very difficult thing. Processing the death of someone you really admire is difficult. Processing the death of someone who seemed like a good person is extra hard. Processing someone who was at the helm, not quite the helm, it was Dave's band, but he was always there being interviewed along with Dave. They were side by side, funny guy. What did you think when you saw him being interviewed? Let alone the music, you smiled. Dave always made me smile. Their likability factor was really high as human beings. Remember, Dave in the early days would always be chewing gum. He was always chewing gum during the interviews, like constantly. I'd go, why is he chewing gum? So anyway, let's get to some comments before we wrap things up. We have about almost 200 people on here now. Please share your comments. We'd appreciate that. We'll read them out loud. Unless you believe the earth is flat, then maybe we won't. Same Blazy Model World said we need to recognize all these guys while they are still here. Thank you. Chris says, Taylor was excellent. Oh, you wrote that already? Logi Dodgy, so sorry to hear, and thank you for keeping us informed on the goings-on in the music world. Thank you. I don't think you've been on here before. I'm sure you've watched the videos, but thank you. Dwayne, by the way, I know it's a sad occasion, but please like our videos because it does make a difference from people watching them. Not that you want to like the fact that someone passed away. That's not what liking videos is about. It's about, I liked your work. Thank you for being on. So thank you if you can like our videos. It's not a time that I usually say this, but I mean, really, when I went to sleep last night, I was a little down. I never get down on my videos. Never. I'm not that I'm not wired that way. Excuse me. Sorry. But then, my phone kept going off and off, and you all of you have been really good in letting me know. A lot of you are friends with me on Facebook, and if you ever want to be friends, I'll friend you. Still got, I think, about 1,000 people left, or 500 or something. Okay, Mike and Liz. Hi, John. Greetings from the Philippines. Hey, I love Filipino food, by the way. I've been subscribed for a couple of years. This is the first time I caught you live. Thank you. We had a Filipino family who used to bring us some food. We exchanged. It's crazy. It was great. DBC 105. Consider that Dave, one of the best drummers per Rolling Stone, picked Taylor. Well said. Well said. Yes, very true. Siba Prince Fili. They had just played here in Chile a week ago for Lollapalooza. Audio Junkabus. That's a username for you. Okay. The drummer is most always the smartest guy in the room. Well, some people might debate you on that, but I'd like to agree with that. Dave's Crypto Days. Another no cause of death given. Well, no, it's too early. You can't, I'm sure the people on the scene probably have an idea what happened. That's usually the case, but you can't give out information until you know for sure. I mean, you really can't. Jayana Kelly, I remember back around 2008, and they had Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones on. Dave and Taylor were beyond excited. Yeah, no kidding. They're big Zeppelin fans. Robert Dickey, he was probably, wow, that's so ignorant. That's the most ignorant comment in Robert. Not cool. Not cool. Your little agenda is important right now. Your conspiracy agenda. Nicole Murphy. John, you mentioned yesterday you'd sometimes consider not doing this anymore. Please know you are appreciated. I know that Taylor's music, I will check him out. Thank you. We appreciate that. Trenton Paul, Sass Jordan's touring drummer also. Yes, we mentioned that on the top. He was Sass Jordan's touring drummer and then Alanis Morissette's touring drummer, and then he left to become a Foo Fighter. Not their original drummer. Chris. Yeah, stop with the vax stuff. I agreed. Martin, rest in peace. Rest in peace. Taylor, a lot of strength for his close ones these sad days. It's very hard. I can't believe it. Yeah, well said. Well said. Merle LED. When I read the news this morning, I immediately thought about the back and forth documentary moments where they share the story of the time Taylor OD'd. Yeah. 2001. Patrick Jewell. 2 outlets reported that Taylor had been experiencing chest pains. Had to call the ambulance. Well, thank you for that. If that's the kind of information, Dwayne says, we are not God or Jesus. We don't know how Taylor Hawkins passed. Speculation solved nothing. Well said. Snowman, please hit the like button. Thank you. I appreciate that. Again, processing death is a hard thing at the best of times, and there's no best of times with death, but processing death is a difficult thing because remember when I taught Richie Furay, when we were losing members of POCO, I asked Richie Furay, and it just happened 2 weeks before. I said, where is Rusty? Where do you think he is? And Richie Furay is a religious man. I'm not a religious man, but I respect people who are religious very much. And I'm more of a Buddhist type of dude, but I asked him, where's Richie? Like, where is he? And I started asking a lot of musicians, okay, where are they then? Where do they go? How can they be here one moment? That's what a kid asks, right? A parent? A kid would ask, well, what are you talking about? I was just talking to him yesterday, and I always say the same thing. Well, everyone's alive the day before they're dead. But the human mind's just going like, look at a kid trying to process death. And sometimes it's not unlike an adult trying to process death on a primal level, trying to go, what? Where is he? And Richie said, well, I believe he's going meeting his maker. And, he was a religious man. I believe that's what he thought. PDK wrote, whoa. Yeah, no kidding. Audio Junkabus. Love that username. I wish I had this channel when Randy Rhoads, Cliff Burton, making a difference in my life. Nice to be with, hold on, I lost it, others at this sad time. I think that's a common thing to want to do. If you're in I was single for a lot of years. And I remember thinking at times when I was single, when people would die, my first inclination was to phone someone. I wouldn't stand in a dark room by myself. Some people do because they have to process it and just sort of, because the shock factor in losing someone who's such a bright light, such a happy person, made such a difference, was honest about his frailties, right? That hurts. And when you look at, my brother died a few years before I met my wife in 97. My brother had problems with a lot of things, the usual things that people do that can kill you. And someone came up to me and said, oh, it's sad that Andrew died because he'd conquered his demons. And that's so sad now that he conquered them and he passed away of cancer. And my reaction was kind of like, I said, no. You don't think he had satisfaction while he was alive conquering those? I said, listen, our life is in the moment sometimes of just going, he felt it. And I was the last person to talk to him. And I don't want to make this about Andrew, but it's about death of going, no, all his accomplishments, Taylor, the fact that he died, it doesn't take away from the moment he felt accomplished in what he did. The moment that, this guy was smiling all the time in all his interviews. He was fun. He was a jokester. I know some people were saying the clown crying thing. Well, I don't know. Everyone's got stuff. Like I said, when I started watching a few videos where YouTubers attacking each other, I thought, wow, you don't know what's going on with that person. Unless, of course, they're ripping off people, and some YouTubers do that, right? But you don't ultimately know what's going on with someone just because they're smiling and they're happy. But it doesn't mean he died from what we think he died of. XRP for life. Yeah, they just finished doing that movie. I'm not going to mention that. Dave's Crypto Days. Nobody is going to judge, especially... Oh, come on. Really? Jesus, stop mentioning the vaccine. That's ridiculous. That's beyond conspiracy lunacy. Okay. Oscar Stern, he rocked. Very true. Merle. Andrew G. Dick, what? Blooming elephants in the room. Well, music archives say don't do blank. I got to be careful with that word on PDK. I'm not a big fan, and I'm sad. He really seemed like a positive, passionate man. Yep. Whiskey 666. Nice chat, subs, and liked earns. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. James Morrow. Yeah, there's no suspect. There's but no one knows. No one knows what happened. Magazine says, I just saw the movie they made. This guy was always smiling and giving positive, good energy, which always contrasted Dave. The Dave I grew up with. Oh, okay. Karen Dinsmore. Moments like this remind me of how precious life is. So incredibly true. I'm 62. However old you are, this channel tends to bring in people who are over 40 years old. And crap can happen when you're over 40. I had a lady in Vancouver We used to listen to the radio station all the time, the station I still work for in Vancouver. And she said her husband, he was 42, I think, just got up, and you always hear this. He was feeling weird. He felt weird and went to bed. And what happens? They don't wake up. And that's exactly what happened to her husband. This girl was beautiful, smart, well-educated. She showed me a picture of him. He was the same, beautiful, smart, well-educated. He was 42, woke up. I never met him. Got to know her a little bit. It's crazy. Pookie, yeah, he almost died in 2001. Yeah, we mentioned that. Skoda Butt, can't imagine how Dave feels. Yeah, thank you for bringing us back there. That's very true. It's very, very true. And he lost Kurt Cobain, right? Tony Walker, thank you, John, for giving us a platform where us music lovers can all come together and discuss. Oh my, you're just so incredibly welcome. Donna Lloyd, terrible news. Rest in peace. I'm going to wrap things up here, even though we have almost 300 people on here. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. I got to read these kind of conspiracy things. Okay. That's the thing. Usually I just read things, and now I'm having to go, okay. A lot of conspiracy stuff. I don't know how much energy it takes to go through life and have. Listen, some conspiracy theories are real. Of course they are. But some I just go, wow, you've lost your perspective. Okay. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Oh my God, a lot of comments. Oh my God. Everyone's speculating. We don't know. So I'm going to wrap things up. I seldom do that when we have almost 300 people on here, but he died in his hotel room, found unresponsive. He has a wife and 3 kids. And again, the likability factor for this guy and the talent that he had. What happens when Taylor Hawkins walks in a room? Remember the example I gave a while ago? It's the example I always give. Chris Brown walks through a room. What do you think about? Chris Brown. Oh, that's the guy who beat up Rihanna. When Taylor Hawkins walks in a room, I'm certainly not thinking anything like that. I'm thinking, wow, I'm so happy to hear. I want to spend time with him. I want to ask him questions about his musicianship, about who he is, what's he like, what's he into? I want to spend some time with you. I can't believe we're spending time together. That's what happens when you spend time with someone like Taylor. Did I know him? Hell no, I didn't know him. But look at the impact he seemed to have on people. Watch any video. This guy really, really made a big difference. He was one of those guys that did change the trajectory of people's lives. Brought out the drummer in a lot of folks. Made people want to play drums. Just like when he saw Roger Taylor of Queen, Stuart Copeland of the Police. That's what happened to him. He played guitar till he saw them and decided he wanted to do something different. You change instruments. Sure, a lot of rockers do. They're playing the flute in the beginning, right? Or the clarinet or the oboe or whatever. And then they see rock and roll and they decide they want to do that. Taylor had his 2 guys. I hope they perform at the Grammys. Completely understand if they don't. With hopefully Stuart Copeland on drums. It would be great. He knew Stuart Copeland. Met most of his heroes. A lot of them. They're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They deserve everything they got. That was just wonderful. For a band, for Dave Grohl to come out and be in 2 of the biggest bands of all time. And as someone pointed out tonight, or this morning rather, I'm usually on at night, that, Dave picked him. He wasn't the original drummer, but he picked him to be the drummer. And what a good guess. And Taylor had said many times he was very nervous, even though he played with Sass Jordan and Alanis Morissette. He was very nervous in the beginning, but quickly got over that. Dave Grohl looked at him like he was a brother. And you could tell when they were together, and they're usually the spokespeople. It was always Dave first because it's his band, but Taylor was there a lot on the interviews, and they were going back and forth finishing each other's sentences. And that's a beautiful thing when that happens. So anyway, thanks everyone who's come on. I would stay on for a few more hours, but my phone is going dead. I'm trying to find my little button. My phone's going dead, and I record these with the microphone. My little Electra voice. So this is like a broadcasting microphone that I always use. But thank you for all. I'm going to leave the comments on here, of course. But someone just said he was an amazing person and drummer. Yeah, that's true. We mourn the way we can. We mourn by listening to the music. And keep watching. I know it's human nature to want to know why. Like I said a while ago, I'll say it one more time. The normal reaction when you come up to a person and say someone close to them that's passed away, they go, "Oh my God," and then they follow it up with what happened. So it's human nature for us to want to know what happened. We don't know. We're not going to say what it is. We don't know. But we'll find out in the next 2-3 weeks, or probably sooner. Anyway, take care of yourself. Really, take care of yourself, because you never know, right? I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. Please subscribe to our channel and take it easy, guys.